Okay, so when it comes to digital security, there has been a huge fundamental shift in how we think about things. There's this concept called zero trust, and it's completely rewriting the playbook on how we protect our data. And trust me, this affects every single one of us.
And this quote, it just gets right to the heart of the matter, doesn't it? The old way of thinking, where we just trusted people because they were inside our network, that idea is just completely broken. In today's world, that kind of blind trust is basically rolling out the welcome mat for an attack.
So, to really get why this new approach is such a big deal, we've got to look at how things used to be. For decades, cybersecurity was built like a medieval fortress, what we call the castle and moat model. And, as we're about to see, those walls just don't hold up anymore. You see, the old way was all about building a really high wall. That's the perimeter. And just assuming anyone who managed to get inside was totally safe and could be trusted. Well, zero trust flips that script completely. It's not about where you are, it's all about who you are. It trusts no one and verifies everything, every single time. And this slide shows you exactly why that old model is basically a relic. I mean, our castle doesn't even have walls anymore, right? We're all working from home, our most important data lives in the cloud, and hackers are pros at stealing passwords to just walk right through the front door. And once they're in, they can move around, what we call lateral movement, like a spy with free reign of the entire castle. So this leads to a massive problem. We've completely lost track of our crown jewels. Get this. One study found that only 7% of organizations are confident they even know where all their sensitive data lives. And some experts joke that even that 7% are probably just being optimistic. Okay, so this is why we need a totally new approach. And zero trust isn't just some piece of software you can buy. No, it's a fundamental change in your entire mindset. It's all about switching from a place of trust by default to a state of constant, healthy paranoia. So what is it exactly? Well, at its core, zero trust is a security strategy built on this idea that no user, no device, and no app should be trusted automatically. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in the head office or working from a coffee shop, you have to prove you are who you say you are every single time you want to access something. The entire philosophy, the whole shebang, can be boiled down to these 4 incredibly powerful words. Never trust, always verify. That is the new golden rule of cybersecurity. Let's use an analogy to make this super clear. Think about airport security, right? Just because you got through the front door doesn't mean you can just wander onto any plane you want. They check your ID and your ticket constantly. They scan your bags, and your boarding pass only gets you onto one specific flight. That's exactly how zero trust works in our digital world. Okay, so we've covered the why and the what. Now for the fun part, the how. Let's look at how this actually gets put into practice. It really all comes down to 3 main pillars that form the blueprint for any zero trust setup. Pillar number 1 is the absolute foundation of everything. You have to rigorously verify both the user and the device they're using before you grant access to anything. There are no exceptions. You don't get a hall pass just because we recognize your name. So how does this verification happen? Well, it's a few key things. You've got multi-factor authentication, or MFA. That's when you get that code texted to your phone. Then there's something called identity analytics, which is always asking questions in the background like, wait, is Bob really trying to log in from another country at 3 a.m.? That seems weird. The system also checks if your laptop is secure and up to date, and it might ask for even more proof for riskier actions. It's all about context. All right, next up is the principle of least privilege. Now, this is a simple but incredibly powerful idea. It just means people should only have access to the absolute minimum they need to do their jobs, and nothing more. You wouldn't hand over the master key to the entire building just because someone needs to get into one office, right? And here's a perfect real-world example. An accountant needs to get into the accounting software and see financial files. They absolutely do not need access to the human resources database or the main IT admin controls. By locking down their access, you seriously limit the amount of damage that could be done if their account ever gets hacked. This last pillar, this one's probably my favorite because it really flips your thinking on its head. You have to work from the worst-case scenario. You have to assume an attacker is already inside your network. It forces you to build your defenses from the inside out, not just at that old crumbling wall. This analogy makes it all click. Imagine a thief breaks into your house. You don't want them to be able to roam around freely. In a zero-trust world, we use a technique called microsegmentation.
which is basically like putting a separate lock on every single room in the house, every server, every app, every database. So even if they get in, they're trapped. They can't make that dangerous lateral movement we talked about. Now, zero trust is a massive, game-changing trend, but it's not happening in a bubble. It's really one critical piece of a much larger puzzle in the whole evolution of cybersecurity. When you talk to industry experts, they really point to three big, interconnected trends that are driving security forward. The first, as we've been talking about, is zero trust. The second is just getting way smarter about managing threats. And the third is updating our security operations for a world that runs on the cloud. These things aren't separate. They all have to work together.
So, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds like a big corporate IT headache, right? But the truth is, the principles of zero trust are already a huge part of your daily life, whether you've noticed it or not.
And let's just get it out there. Let's address the elephant in the room. Doesn't all this constant checking and verifying just make life harder? I mean, it's a fair question. We've all had that little moment of frustration when we have to do one more step just to log in.
But here's the cool part. When it's designed well, so much of this verification happens completely seamlessly, right in the background. In fact, you're already so used to living in this zero-trust world that you probably don't even think of it as a hassle anymore.
I mean, think about it. That code your email provider sends to your phone? Yep, that's zero trust. Your bank sending you a push notification to approve a purchase? That's zero trust too. Every single one is a tiny, little inconvenience that prevents the massive headache of getting your account strained or your identity stolen. The future of security isn't coming, it's already here.
So it really leaves us with this final thought to chew on. We're building a digital world where trust itself is seen as a vulnerability. In a world where your access is constantly questioned and verified even by your own laptop, what does that mean for the future of how we interact with technology? It's a really profound shift, and honestly, we're just getting started.